When legendary playwright, actor, and artistic director of Pittsburgh Playwrights Theater, Mr. Mark Clayton Southers, asks you to read his recovery room journal, well, at least part of it. Well, here we go. He calls this one Mike and Ike's. I was on a feeding tube for at least 2 months, maybe even longer. My wife knows just exactly how long, but it's after midnight and I know she's knocked out, so I won't bother her about that detail. This feeding tube went through my nose and ran down into my, well, I don't even remember that. My wife knows that detail as well. I thought it went to my stomach, but now that I think about it, I think it bypassed my stomach and went straight to the next section. Anywho, the food was a yellow substance that came from a huge plastic bag that hung from my IV stand. I can't say that it was nasty because it never ran past my taste buds. I do know that it looked nasty as hell. Now that's where you can use as hell. Now that's when it makes sense. Cold as hell makes no sense. Unless you're saying that was cold that they wanted me to go to hell. Anywho. So I had this feeding tube in me like what seemed like forever. As my consciousness grew and I became more alert, all I wanted was to get that tube out of my nose. And I wanted so badly to eat something, anything. They kept telling me soon. As soon as my heartbeat slows down and you're breathing normally, you can have something to eat. This went on for what seemed like forever. Eventually, they took the feeding tube out of my nose. Then they had a nutritionist come to teach me how to eat normally again. During this time, my wife, out of the kindness of her heart, gave me my cell phone to use. Now keep in mind, I still had narcotics in my system. I had been weaned off of them, but they were still saturated deep into my tissues, and I was still feeling the effects of them periodically. One of the things that really tripped me out was that my iPhone was curved outwards towards me. Like when I was holding it, it was like I was holding a miniature hood of a soapbox derby car. Or it was curved outwards towards me and everything was mutated. I couldn't use it because everything was distorted. But I didn't want to give it back to her, nor did I want her to know that my mind was tripping like Dorothy returning home from the poppy field. So I acted like everything was all right. I wanted to call my friends so badly, but I couldn't operate my phone. I couldn't even answer it when it rang. Everything was bloated and blurry. The only communication I had with folks was when they came to visit. Most visitors when leaving usually asked, "Is there anything I can bring you?" More times than not, I requested Mike and Ike's. My memory of them was so strong. I could imagine their juicy taste. I wanted to relive that feeling. Well, one morning my phone rang and I picked it up. To my surprise, it had returned to its normal shape. On the other end of the phone was my good friend Kim. She informed me that she was coming to visit, and if there was anything that I wanted her to bring. My door was cracked open, so I whispered to her, "Mike and Ike's." I had to be super careful because I didn't want any of the nurses or nurses' aides to hear. She must not have believed her ears. She was like, "What?" I was like, "Bring me a box of Mike and Ike's and Boston baked beans." Y'all know those goodies. I was craving them. I hadn't eaten anything for close to 5 weeks. And it's all I thought about 24/7. I was averaging about 12 people per day initially once I was allowed to have guests. So one day, Kim shows up with the goodies. There were already several people in my room, so she couldn't give me the bag of snacks right away. So I just laid in my bed and had conversations with folks while staring like a crackhead intently at that rolled up brown paper bag held in Kim's grasp. Eventually the room thinned out and Kim presented the bag to me. I immediately went in on the Mike and Ike's box, ripping it open like a spoiled child on Christmas Day. And Kimmy really hooked the brother up. She had bought me one of those industrial sized boxes like you get at the movies for like $8. Usually, you grab a handful, grub them all down, but I chose to pick out one singular orange one. I placed it in my mouth, rolled it around on my tongue. I laid my head back, and they told me my eyes rolled in back of my head in sheer ecstasy. The room grew quiet while I took all of this delight in. But the strange thing was, I couldn't eat anymore. That first one had satisfied my mental urge, but my taste buds would not support another attempt. I found a place to hide them from my nurses, and when the kids visited, I handed them off to them. My good friend Wally brought me another big bag of goodies. All I could do was smile at the memories that they evoked. Yes, my taste buds had not made that long journey back like my mind had. And that's how it would be for food as well. I'd crave pizza and take one bite, and that was it. Everything else would taste like mush. That's where this whole chicken wing thing came into play. Chickens were just about the only thing I could enjoy on a repeat basis, especially with different sauces. But getting this understanding was a journey. There were several times when they contemplated putting the feeding tube back in because I wasn't finishing my meal. But my good friends came to the rescue, bringing me chicken wings around the clock. My taste buds also woke up to where I could enjoy cheesesteak hoagies. And for about 6 weeks, I was at a facility in the Highland Park area, and Vento's Pizza was just a few short blocks away. Yes, a Vento's cheesesteak hoagie was the meal of choice for quite some time. My weight was increasing, and the threat of the tube returning all but disappeared. I remember all those trips to the Porter's Superette, and before school to Bob's Truck, and even that little store in Braddock after church every Sunday. Oh, and to Stott's near Whitaker when visiting my grandparents. These were my childhood outlets. To scoop up several boxes of Boston baked beans, lemon head, a bag of Swedish fish, a couple of stick pretzels, and a few boxes of Mike and Ike's. Yes, my body had shrunk to the size I was when I was a preteen, losing around 80 pounds initially. But I had gained 30 pounds back from those bags of mush. I still had a long way to go to regain my strength and not to be forced to buy all new clothes. Yes, my memory of those good tasting Mike and Ike's jump-started my dormant taste buds and was the catalyst for my body's return to normalcy. Sometimes it's the little things that we least expect that unlocks the closed doors in our lives. So having an open mind can go a long way. Enjoy life, my friends. The end. Mike and Ike's. Written by Mr. Mark Clayton Southers.